Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Simufur broadcast. As you can see, we are right now in the Silver Championship here in Donington Park once again. But alongside me, Suzuka Shark is a racer from the AM Championship, Wolfin Foxdale.
Hello, it's good to be here. Um, Super excited. This is a very fun track, and I am extremely excited to be here after having a bit of a rough race. But right
Uh,
now we're right here in qualifying as we see Blade is now heading into the final corner as we head for our very first lap coming in to coming mm, into the first corner, heading down the long straight. Is the long S. This is a very complex corner, heading down into the old hairpin past the old bridge, heading outside, nice and easy. This is again our very first lap of qualifying. We unfortunately did miss the times in practice, but so far so good. Blade is doing an amazing job as he heads down into the next corner, nice and easy.
Absolutely. Blade now putting the power down as he heads into Sector 3, hard on the brakes, coming into the chicane. Really easy to violate the track limits here. Blade Wolf seems to get around that bit just fine as they head into the two final corners. Two hairpins, very tight, as Blade Wolf pins down the brakes, turns hard right, and puts the power down on that Aston Martin as fast as he can, and goes into the final corner, a cambered corner. We've seen a couple of incidents from the AM Championship, but Blade Wolf going out there just fine and sets a lap off 1 minute 28.8. So already close to our AM drivers as of the moment. Behind them, Parcho beats him with a 128.4 and steals pole position all of a sudden.
Yeah, remember this is our first laps. The tires are still fairly cold, so we're going to start seeing these times increased as the race goes on. This is again a half-hour qualifying session, so they have plenty of time to get those times in, maybe even make a few adjustments and go out again if they so choose. As so far, it is nothing really that I am seeing time-wise. Cali about 4/10 behind, but we do see Swingley with a net game of 1.5 seconds. I think that might be going to be very interesting, but then again, this is their outlap. We'll see what comes of it as we follow Blade heading into the S's. Still doing a fairly good job. They actually are improving on by about a little under a tenth. Now they're really gaining. Their head. It's now about a solid tenth now. We'll see how it comes out at the end, but it looks like Parcho is gaining even more. They're about half a second up their previous time.
Absolutely, and not to mention the track evolution is going to be insane right here. At the moment, like in the AM Champ, the track is fast, so they're gonna have to put more rubber down to get that track into an optimum state so that they can get those optimal laps in. And one of those laps might be the one that we'll look for into pole, as we see Elias Vena, one of the newcomers here, already in silver pace, stealing pole position with that BMW.
Yeah, that was an amazing lap, and it's still able to steal Parcho's time by, I think it was
That was
almost
4,500 thousands, yeah, 400s.
400s. That is not bad in their first silver debut, but then they go extremely wide going out of the old hairpin. That's not going to help their tires much. Heading down and back up the hill. Hopefully it didn't. It obviously ruined this lap, but hopefully it won't affect their tires too much going further on.
Absolutely. Elias Vena, one of the newcomers as well in Simufur, but has a lot of experience in sim racing. Like I said, a sim racer on iRacing, but Oily Rags stealing pole position in that blue E Ferrari.
Yeah, this was a man who, during our previous chats, he was like, I was having a little bit of trouble this morning. I think he's figured out the problem, and he is now in pole. I think those problems have now officially been solved, and now it is only uphill from here. Hopefully, that will not be their only lap, but it looks like it won't be because they're already a tenth up their personal best, which is currently pole.
Absolutely. The track evolution again causing these times to just drop down ever so slowly as Oily it slides a bit on that corner and puts the power down on that Ferrari. At the moment, it's Oily on provisional pole behind with Elias right behind with 25 thousandths of a second. This gap for pole really close. Less than a tenth between Oily to Parchoak. No, Oily to Palikli, less than a tenth. So really close here in the Silver Championship.
Yes, this could be huge. Pally with a 10th gain. It looks like they're really on a flyer now. I am watching the numbers skyrocket on Palikli's car. But
yep.
And what Oily Rags, interestingly enough, sets another fastest time with a 1:27.7. As we follow along here with Blade, they're on a bit of a gain too. They've got a 10th up. So let's see where that puts them. If my math is correct, and my math is not going to be correct. They're now 4/10 up. This is going to put them in pole. This might put them in pole. Let's see where it comes out. Here they come to the line.
That is P2.
Very close, but not close enough. P2.
Absolutely. Blade Wolf, the seasoned veteran here in Simufur. In fact, the only driver on the grid to come from the previous Silver Championship. I know well that Blade Wolf is someone to be reckoned with. Speaking of someone to be reckoned with, Palikli here, another one of those fast guys on iRacing, making his ACC race here in Donington Park. A surprise entry even to me. I did not expect Palikli to come in. I mean, we did sort of livery, but I did not expect Palikli to commit to racing in the Silver Championship.
No, I don't think not either of us did, but I'm super excited he is. This is going to make things very interesting. This is a man who, in iRacing, is probably definitely one of the fastest drivers. One of the faster drivers, I should say.
With Sauce Dragon here, we're talking about the AmChamp. I think he and I was at Huskworks. Yes, it was Huskworks sharing a sim rig, and Sauce Dragon now puts that car into P2. That I believe I saw the stickers. It was Confuzzle. Is it the Confuzzle? Yes, it's the Confuzzled Mustang.
The very confuzzled Mustang.
Yes, indeed.
I am looking at the times. It looks like Stosh actually has Oily in Sector 1 by about 2/10. If they're able to improve in a couple more sectors, they will definitely have a chance to get pole. But that would mean really pushing this car hard as we follow along with K-Mears, who is also a bit he was poised to actually very much improve. Here they come down to the final quarter. This is going to be definitely an improvement.
Let's see where it puts them. They're a bit too slow on that, and unfortunately, K-Mears, no improvement. But I want to point this out. K-Mears has always been the driver with the most fans here in chat. So at the moment, none of them are in here. Where are you, K-Mears fans? We miss you so much. But yes, K-Mears seems to be getting a lot of the attention with these guys, and definitely a great driver to look forward to.
Speaking of, as we were talking, Sauce Dragon is just taking pole. Remember what I said? They had the fastest Sector 1. Well, they figured out that, yeah, I had the fastest Sector 1. Let me get the rest of the sectors. And absolutely has nailed P1. This is going to be this could very well be an RRP P1.
Absolutely. We've had Garage 42 dominate in the Silver Champ, now in the AmChamp, but now in the Silver Champ. It's going to look pretty close. And as we see here, I believe this is a new driver. Who is this? This is Ven.
I believe Ven. Yes, they are. They are actually new. Yes.
Absolutely, another one of those newcomers coming into the Simufur Silver class from the get-go.
Yeah, super excited. Our silver ranks are very much improving. We are now following Sauce Dragon, who is not on a, I believe he was on an outlap, but, or, I'm sorry. that is not a RP car. That's a Tig Gang car. That is Parcho. Forgive me. He is now, but he's now got a little bit of a hand now, because he's now getting a bit of a draft from, I believe that is Ven, I want to say.
No, that's an Aston Martin. That looks like Weiss in the Aston Martin a while back, but looks like, oh, Parcho just backed out of it, so must have been a lap done for Parcho. But looking over to Swingley in that Blender Porsche coming into the corner. Right now they're P9. They're wanting to improve on that time. As you can see, the delta really close. They're currently 2/10 off their previous best and just improving a lot more. So Swingley, someone to look out for, because they could battle for the midfield. They could battle that midfield pack.
Definitely, and also I want to apologize to our audience. ACC does not really support Blender very well, therefore we do have that texture error on the vehicle. So, again, we do apologize. There's not much we could do about it. Please bear in mind that there's not much that again, Blender is not very well supported in ACC, but it's doing its best.
Absolutely, and at the moment it's Sauce Dragon and Parcho 1-2. Parcho almost getting pulled by 0.03 of a second, with Oilerags trailing behind in P3, less than a tenth. So at the moment this field looks considerably close, but coming race day, coming the race, I bet it will shuffle a lot.
Yeah, I think we're going to be getting a lot of close quarters, a lot of very close races, as we see Swingley go very wide going out of the old hairpin. Nice save. That is definitely not a place you want to be going into the grass, because your car gets very, very upset when it does that. But they're able to save it. As we see another dust cloud, I believe that, yes, that is Weiss, who has, I guess, gone wide going out of the corner, but is now back on his feet and is continuing on. Hopefully it didn't affect them too much.
Absolutely, I don't think that's shaking him too much, but at the moment, just Weiss trying to find some clean air and trying to get those laps done as much as possible. P6 is decent, but I believe they're wanting more. They want more of the time. As you can see here, Ven, one of the new drivers here, currently 2/10 off their personal best. No, make that 3/10. They're the only one that's out by 1 second in this gap. Can they close the gap and make this whole field divided by just less than a second as they go into the final hairpin? What can they do? It's clearly better than their previous best, and it'll be a 1 minute and 28.2. That puts them up in P7, and now the grid is divided by less than a second, 8/10 to be more specific.
Yeah, very impressive. We saw this in AmChamp. Not a lot there, though the gaps were a little bit bigger. There was definitely, if you looked, the groups were there, 4 or 5 people between, with a difference of about, I want to say, like 2 or 3 tenths, which made racing very interesting when things went according to plan anyway.
Absolutely. As you can see, Sauce Dragon, the current pole sitter in that RRP Mustang with the confuzzled livery, again trying to best their times here in Donington Park. Currently they still have the best Sector 1 and 2, but Sector 3 is actually held by Leparcho in the Tig Gang Ferrari.
Very, very impressive. And I'd also like to point out, if this Mustang is able to hold off Parcho and Oily Rags, this will be the very first time Mustang has actually gotten pole in Simufur overall. So I'm actually kind of excited for that, being a bit of a Mustang guy.
Yeah, absolutely. The Mustang, a very new car. The only drivers, as far as I was concerned, to have driven this were you in the, what's it called, the multi-class madness?
Multi-class madness.
And then there was Vossi's, was it the Pit Fox racing car in MEMS, which wasn't broadcasted. And then right now,
and
and then
they did incredibly well. They almost won it all. They got very close, but unfortunately, tragedy struck in the last 10 minutes. Super unfortunate. But
yeah, and then in AmChamp we had Lappy earlier on, and right now another RRP car, to be more specific, Sauce Dragon, another Mustang in this group.
yeah, definitely still people learning the car, but you could definitely see people have an interest in it. And it's not just because it's a new car, it's actually a fairly decent car. But going back to the race, we're following Leparcho, who is on a bit of a gain there. Looks like they're about even as far as I can see. They're about a tenth. So this could increase the gap between him and Oily, which would make things very interesting as we see Oily or Parcho come out of the final corner. What's it going to be? Is it going to be pole? No.
Unfortunately, that
was a bit of an improvement.
Yeah, unfortunately, that final corner bled their time. So, yeah, I keep on saying those two hairpins, they will bleed your time, and that seems to be what happened in Parcho's case. As we look over to Sauce Dragon now.
Yeah, Sauce Dragon definitely on a bit of a flyer here. They've improved their time by almost, I want to say, a tenth, which definitely will help them out in keeping. Oh, as I say that, Camir's out of nowhere, a 127.3. That's going to be incredibly hard to beat. That is an insane time as he comes down into the turn 3. Definitely did an incredible job, but unfortunately now Sauce is a bit on the back foot. They're going to have to really push this car hard as we see Cameras go really wide going out of the old hairpin. And, oof, that corner is going to become a little bit... that's going to be very unfortunately, and unfortunately we have our first retirement. Elias, their headset, unfortunately is having pretty bad issues, and they were unfortunately having to back out. That's super unfortunately. Hopefully they will come back for the next race. As we follow along with Pally, who is back out on the track and is, I believe, they're at the moment breaking in, but I believe this is still their outlap, so we'll have to see where this goes from here.
Absolutely, and I was about to say, unfortunate case for Elias Vena, a technical issues forcing them out of this race. We hope to see them in the next 2 weeks at Misano. Anyways, coming into the site of Paliqui's BMW, it's the black BMW because it's a last-minute entry. Nobody expected this, but Paliqui, unfortunately, not on the chart at the moment. Let's see what they can do on the next lap. And speaking of gainers, right now Blade Wolf is one of them. Oily is one of them as well. But let's see, Blade Wolf about to complete his lap, coming down the chicane.
That's going to be invalid. They cut that. I think that was right over the second part of the S's. I saw all 4 wheels go past that thing.
Apparently that lap is still valid by the looks of it, yes. Blade Wolf still on the charge. The Aston Martin, they're old, reliable. They've almost always been an Aston Martin for as far as I know. And coming down to the final corner, what times will this be? It is, unfortunately, they don't best their times, but they go for another one. And it's now 10 minutes remaining into qualifying.
Yep, 10 minutes to go, and I haven't seen a lot of time improvements, and I think it's just because they're just waiting and trying to give one more try in the last 10 minutes, maybe trying to do some setup changes. As we see Blade go really deep going into the old hairpin, kind of clip the corner a little bit and cause them to go wide, but they were able to save it. As we follow back along with Paliqui as they head down toward the S's. And they have a pretty clean track at the moment. I don't really see anyone in their vicinity. I think the closest one is...
That is Parcho closest to Paliqui at the moment.
Yeah, well, I meant track-wise, but still.
Alright. But yeah, Paliqui, either way, has a lot of clean air to improve. Can they improve on their time? It looks to be the case as of the moment. But as I said, that final corner can really bleed the time. But Paliqui gained a lot of time on that final corner. What can this be for the number 71 Blue E BMW? It is not quite, as
Nothing.
they remain in P4. It looks like time really bled on the corner exit of the final corner.
Yep. Back along with Parcho. Parcho is also on a bit of an improvement, about, I want to say, about 1/10 to, yeah, about 1 to 2/10. This could make things a bit interesting, but they're going to have to really buckle down. They need to gain at least 3/10 to even keep up with Kamer's time. So they're going to really need to start pushing in order to get that time.
Absolutely, and Oily backing up, probably to get a new fresh set of tires, because this track is just evolving. It's still fast at the moment, but for sure the rubber is just coming and coming. These guys want the best tires on the grippier rubberized surface.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually a little surprised that it has not gone optimum yet with all the cars out on track. Blade now really pushing hard. They've got about, I want to say, yeah, I want to say 3/10, and I'm right. They're almost up to 4/10 now, heading toward the final, heading toward the Melbourne hairpin. If they're able to nail these last two corners, this could be very interesting and put Blade maybe in a podium spot. Let's see where it goes. They're 3/10 up still, going out of the Melbourne hairpin. One more corner to go, heading down into the last corner. If they nail this, this could make things very interesting. As we see, Pally has also improved. They're now P3. Let's see what Blade does, and Blade answers with another P3.
Absolutely, two seasoned veterans here in sim racing. Blade Wolf having a lot of experience here on Simufur, and Palikwi having a lot of iRacing experience. So it's great to see these these types of people here. And I forgot to mention, we do also have a few youngins here. We have the likes of Parcho, Oily, yes, even in silver, the skill set and the experience set is very diverse.
Another person that you forgot to mention is Weiss. This is actually their very first time in silver. They were promoted the last time from Multi-Class Madness after they came very close to winning it all, but they just couldn't get the times. But now they are now making their debut in silver, and they've been doing fairly well. They've been keeping within the 1/10, but unfortunately Weiss had to back out of whatever happened. As we see, Sosh is big improvement. Yeah, about 2/10. That actually can make things very interesting. They're already a 10th down from Kmir's. If they're able to nail this, will be pole.
Absolutely, Sauce Dragon on a charge on that Mustang, letting that V8 motor roar to life as he has two corners to go. Sauce Dragon pinning down the brakes into these hairpins. Hopefully they'll gain time there, because those two corners, I tell you. Oh, that Sauce Dragon getting a bit loose on the exit, and that will be huge damage for their lap times as Sauce bails out and tries to go for another one.
Yeah, they came very close. I was watching the deltas as they were going along. They were so close. They're only not even at, they're 0.10 below Kmir's at the moment, meaning they're basically even. It's going to make things very interesting, especially at the start, if this stays the way it is. But they still have 5 minutes until they are able to before qualifying ends. So
absolutely, the gap to pole is currently 1/100th of a second. That is very close margins here in Simufur. Sauce Dragon having it very close to Kmir's. They just have to get the laps right. They just have to irk that very small fraction of time if they want pole position.
yeah, they just need one good lap. That's all they need, and they will get it. As we saw Swingley go a little bit wide going onto the last corner. Super unfortunate, but I believe that was kind of an outlap anyway, so
Alright, so we have here Oily Rags coming at this and heading down to the chicane right now. Now, can they improve on their time? It looks decent so far. They are very close to their personal best at the moment. They just have to do the 2 hairpins right, as Oily really deep in the inside, but compromises their exit there by the looks of it. But hopefully they look to gain on the second hairpin, going wide and trying to get the late apex on that corner. It doesn't look like they're gaining. It's
Yeah.
close margins, and that'll still be P6 for the Blue E Ferrari.
Yeah, unfortunately, they weren't able to improve on the lap this time. They need to get within a tenth to pass Parcho and make it a Bluey 4-5, but that's a bit of a tall order. You only have, I think, 3 minutes to go, so it's now or never, really.
Absolutely, and Parcho a tenth fast, 1.12 sectors, I believe, 0.12 seconds up on Oily. So it's going to be a really considerable gap for Oily to cover. Anyways, looking into Ven here, who's looking to gain, but they go too wide on the hairpin. That's going to be an instant invalidated lap, and they'll have to go for another one the next time they come into the to the start finish line.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot of time. I'm pretty sure this is going to be at the max 2 more laps to set a good time, as we follow along with Weiss, who is also on a bit of an improvement. They've got about 3/10, and that's actually all they need to get P7. This is going to make things very interesting as he heads out of the corner. Ooh,
a lot of
scrubbed.
oversteer.
A lot of oversteer. That corner is very uneven, and if you hit that corner just wrong, it will really just throw you toward the grass and cost you so much time.
But it doesn't look like it's costing Weiss so much time at the moment. They're still tied to their current delta, but they're slowly starting to lose time, and I don't think they can cover it and beat their personal best.
No, unfortunately, especially now that Sweeney is also starting to improve on their time a little bit, as they are now doing incredibly well as we follow along now with Sauce Dragon, and they are on a bit of an improvement. Actually, they're on a huge improvement as far as time goes. This is what they need. They go really deep into the old hairpin. Doesn't look like it affect their time that much. Remember, they only need 0.110. I'm looking at my times right now. They are a tenth up. That means it will be a Sauce Dragon pole if they're able to keep this lap clean as they head up the circuit, heading down toward the back straight. Let's see what they can do. They're about even with their times. This is now or never.
Absolutely, very close right now. Again, if Sauce has one more lap of fuel to go, they might as well do it. But at the moment, it's do it now or they'll not get that pole position. And it looks like, yeah, Sauce Dragon trying to go for another chance because they just couldn't make this one stick.
Yeah, it looks like they weren't able to do it. It looks like, unfortunately, I think Sauce Dragon would have had one more lap had they had not bailed, because
nope, Sauce Dragon still has a lap. Sauce Dragon can still complete a lap here as he comes out in the final corner. But one of the biggest gainers at the moment, Leparcho, 2/10 off their personal best. Currently, now make that 1/10 because those times really bleeding at the moment by the looks of it in Sector 3. But let's see what Parcho can do here. 2/10 coming into the corner. But those hairpins really bleeding to time. Can Parcho do his best to keep those times up in those 2 hairpins as he comes into the final corner? What can this be? What will Parcho end up in? They'll still be P6, unfortunately, for Parcho. But now we look at Blade Wolf. Let's see what he can do. And it looks like Sauce Dragon has bailed as well. But Blade Wolf, one of the few gainers here at the moment, he is going to go for it. Let's see what Blade Wolf can do with these final 2 corners.
2 corners to go. No time left. Let's see if anyone can beat Cameras this time. Sauce got really close. They were only 0.1 off, or 0.10 off. And now it looks like Blade is going to come around the final corner. Looks like it's going to be a tiny bit of a net gain, but nothing substantial as we follow along with Swingley. This is their last corner, but it looks like this will not also be an improvement, and this will be our final starting. It will be Kamers P1 starting the grid.
Absolutely, Kamers on pole with Sauce Dragon right behind in the sharing the front row by 100th of a second, may I add. That is a very close margin for pole. And behind, just like in the Am Champ, and behind them in the second row is Oily Rags in that Blue E Ferrari, and Blade Wolf completing the second row. So a very close race by the looks of it.
Yeah, definitely going to be a repeat of Am as far as times go. It's going to make things very interesting as we prepare for them to grid up. And I'm going to ask you, who do you think is going to win this? Because I honestly think this is going to come down to pitch strategy, and it's going to come down to keeping your car on the track at this point, because the times are so close. It's going to take one mistake for you to lose everything.
Absolutely. I kind of want to exclude the Blue E drivers, just like during our picks in the driver of the day for the Am Champ, but I'd say Blade Wolf has it, because you can't go wrong with Blade Wolf. He is very consistent. He is very good when it comes to the racecraft. Honestly, he's one of the few silvers here that I see going into pro.
Yeah, and I'm split. I honestly think that maybe being a bit of a Mustang guy, I am hoping that Sash gets this, but I'm not sure. The times are just, I am looking at the times right now. They are so close that it's going to be very hard to say for certain who it is. But I guess I'm going to roll my dice. I'm going to say it's Sash.
I can see why, but yeah, it looks like a very close grid today. In fact, the whole grid, all 9 drivers, the slowest of them, which is Ben, unfortunately, is only 8/10 down. So very close margins, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely going to keep things very much bunched together, especially at race start. And we've seen a bit of the chaos going into that first corner, and really it's going to be a matter of who can jump who and who can take full advantage of really how they start. Perfection is going to be the key here.
Absolutely, who can be the most perfect silver here? It's going to go down to that. These are not like our Am drivers who are of different skill, experience, and skill level on the lower end, but these are our middle ground drivers, the silver class, the fine line between Am and Pro. So it's going to be interesting to see what's in store for us, for sure.
Definitely, as we get ready, they should be gridding up like any second now, if they haven't already. And as we get ready for the grid walk, it's going to be definitely interesting. Did you want to do it, Suzuka?
Absolute. Gladly. So we have Kamers here. Kamers fans, show yourselves in the Kvetch Motorsport 97 Mercedes alongside the RRP Ford Mustang, the confuzzled Mustang of Sauce Dragon. The second row is the Blue E Ferrari of Oily Rags in the number 83, alongside Lycan Racing's Blade Wolf Kyo in the number 142 Aston, a familiar face and a well-known one here in the Simufur grid. In P5 is Paliqui for Blue E as well in the number 71 BMW. He starts alongside the Take Gang Ferrari of Parcho, the number 47. And behind them, P7 and P8, it is the number 366 Aston Martin of Weiss, alongside the Blender Porsche of Swingley in the number 279. And to complete the grid is the number 46 BMW of Ven, a newcomer here, but still quite a quick time because they are only 8/10 off pole position.
Yeah, and the whole grid only separated by a little over a sec. I almost want to say a second and a half. I want to say, if my math is correct.
I think it's like less than a second, the whole grid here.
Oh, fair enough. I know I don't do maths very well.
Fair, that's fair.
Yeah, right now we're just waiting for the countdown to commence and the drivers to roll off. And I gotta say, this is probably the most nerve-wracking part where you're just sitting there, just in your head, thinking what you're going to do, how you're going to handle the beginning of this race, especially when you're not really sure what's going to happen. You know, like in my race, I had my heart sank. I actually, admittedly, I almost sped going at launch, and I saw it go red right as it went green. I was like, my heart almost stopped. And I don't know how I didn't get a drive through, but I'll take it, I guess. As we hear the cars starting to fire up, it's almost time to get going. As the 9 drivers here anxiously await the go to begin their warm up lap, and it's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Absolutely, and like you said, that adrenaline once you're gridded up, it just pumps really hard into you. It's so nerve-wracking, this grid spot, and then once you go on the formation lap, it just gets more tense. Like, you're warming up your tires, you're getting ready for the uncertain. That's to make things specific.
Yeah, you're checking your tire, what tire number you are. You're making sure that your fuel is right, and coming through the realization that you may or may not have accidentally left the quality fuel. We've seen that happen a couple times. And then you also have the next question of who do you know that you can race? Who do you know that you can really push harder with? Where are my teammates? And am I able to kind of rely on them to maybe help me get up the field? Because remember, we do have a couple teams that have more than one driver, Bluey included, that are in this race. Actually, I think it's only 2 teams that actually have more than one driver. If my memory is right.
By the looks of it, at least by tags, only Blue E seems to be the team with 2 drivers. Anyways, getting to this formation lap, like you said, it's really easy to forget these things. It's like that feeling in the airport, like, what if I accidentally bring something that's illegal? Like, what if I accidentally did fuel, even though you well know you did everything you can. It's that feeling for me when it comes to like gridding up and getting onto my formation lap.
Yeah, here they come. They're coming down the backstretch on their way to the S's, bobbing and weaving. This is a nice long straight to really get your tires warmed up and scrubbed and ready to go. Get very much a lot of brake dragging, a lot of weaving as you head toward the S's. As we see them head down into the S's, this is the part where you're really just on edge. You know there's nothing else you can do. All you can do is grid up, cross your fingers, and just get ready to go. As we see them now gridding up, heading down into the Melbourne hairpin, we are almost ready to go.
Absolutely. This is where the adrenaline pumps up a lot, and then, like I said, you release all of that adrenaline once the light goes green and you stomp on the gas pedal. Anyways, looking into these silver drivers to coming up on the final corner. Here it comes now, as these two will cruise 70 kilometers an hour before the green flag waves and the gas pedal will be stomped. Anyways, this is the second Simufur Silver Championship here in Donington Park.
And any second now, it's green flag, and away we go.
It's off to the races. Looks like Sauce Dragon with a better start going around the outside of Camiers. They're side to side coming into turn 1, and they're still side to side. Camiers and Sauce Dragon still duking it out and pulling away from the rest of the field. Meanwhile, Oily Rags has got a great launch on Blade Wolf. and is looking inside
but-
turn 1. Cameron's looking on the inside, and it's Cameron who takes the lead, but Sauce Dragon with a better exit. That Mustang pulling off the horsepower and trying to regain the lead, but Oily Rags settles down into P3.
Yep. Sauce Dragon able to get an amazing launch going out of the old hairpin. That V8, the naturally aspirated V8 definitely has a little bit of an advantage, but then again, the Mercedes has the same thing. As they now are able to lead, everything's kind of evening out now. As we follow along, I believe this is Palakwi, who had a bit of a loss going out of the corner, but it was actually Weiss that had an even bigger loss. I saw in the corner of my eye. They actually, right before the old hairpin, they went a little bit wide and touched the grass, and I think that costed them a lot of time.
Absolutely, Palakwi trying to make amends here for that loss here, but it's still a long way to go. Remember, this is an hour worth of racing. The usual Simufur time as Parcho goes around the outside of Blade Wolf, trying to hang around the outside, but just can't quite get it. Now he has Palakwi on the slipstream.
Yeah, they definitely were thinking about it, and they just backed out of it wisely, because I don't think they didn't think they had the reins to do it. That was very close going into turn 1. Almost went into the back of Blade Wolf as they come down the hill. As we follow along with Swingley, who's right on the bumper of Ven. They're trying every which way to get around, and Ven is doing everything they can to keep them behind them, and so far it's working to perfection.
Absolutely, this silver grid not disappointing when it comes to the racing. We've had a lot of our action, a lot of argy-bargy going around, even for the lead, and this is the things we like to see here in Simufur.
Yet following along with Parcho as he continues to chase down Blade Wolf, heading into the S's. They definitely have a little bit of a run going into the S's, but there's not going to be a place to do it. They're probably going to maybe try to make a move going into the Melbourne hairpin, but as we saw in the last race, and as I've learned personally from experience, you better make it right, otherwise you could end up in a very, very bad situation. And I think they've learned. Parcho is definitely keeping behind, and they're going to wait. But they can't wait too long, because look who's right behind them. That is Palakwi trying to figure out a way to get around them.
Absolutely, Parcho under a lot of pressure right now, really having to multitask in this race, because up ahead is Blade Wolf, who he wants to desperately get past, but make a mistake and he's going to get into the jaws of Palakwi's Blue Shark BMW.
Yeah, definitely trying to do what they can, but they go a little wide going into the Craner curves. That's not going to help them very much. And I think Palakwi also had a little bit wide going out of the corner, but it didn't affect them much. They're still right on the tail of the Tick Gang racing car as they head down past the old hairpin.
Absolutely, Blade Wolf pulling off a little bit on Parcho, so it's starting to become a bit of a slipstream train here at the moment. But Parcho continuing to have to look on his back and look ahead, because they can still pounce if Parcho makes a mistake.
Definitely, and you can see Palakwi, he went a little bit wide going out of the last corner, but they were able to kind of keep it going as we follow along with Oily Rags. Oily Rags is looking for P2. They tried to make a move going into the Melbourne hairpin, but thought better of it. But they're right on the nose of K-Bears. Now K-Bears is going to have to really start defending as he comes into the last corner. Oily Rags trying desperately to maybe try to get around them, because that's all they really need. They just need one little move or K-Bears to make one mistake, and they could easily get P2.
Absolutely. The number 83 Short Cub Blue Shark car chasing down Kvetch Motorsports Shark here for P2 here. But looking back, it's Parcho who has set the fastest lap of the race. Parcho is really pushing right now.
Parcho giving it everything they've got, but they're still bottled up behind Blade Wolf. If they could get past Blade, they might have a contention to try to catch up to the lead pack, but that's going to be the big thing, getting past Blade Wolf. And we all know Blade Wolf, they aren't going to let them by very easily, and that's especially true with Palakwi hunting them down from right behind them.
Absolutely, Parcho has to be calculated, Parcho has to lock in, and make sure this move will get them past Blade Wolf, because if they make a mistake and try to get past Blade, well, they'll have to resort to trying to fight Palikwi, and I don't think Marcho wants to have to jeopardize his position just trying to get past Blade Wolf. So Marcho still staying right behind, trying to find the right moment to pounce. As Palikwi looking really deep on the brakes here, but still makes it stick here.
They were able to make it stick, but now Poncho is in a bit of a pickle. They're in the middle of a front engine sandwich, an Aston Martin in front of them, and a BMW right behind them. Both of these cars have a little bit of advantage going on the outside of the corner, or going into the corner exit, and that's not going to be very good for Parcho, as Parcho gets a much better exit going out of turn 1, heading down into the crater curves. They're going to try to take advantage of this going down the hill. Blade now pulling away a little bit as they head down into the old hairpin, and Parcho again going pretty deep into the old hairpin. That doesn't really help you very much. It unsettles the car it definitely unsettles a car like that Ferrari that he's in, as we follow along with Oily Rags, who is really pushing. They went really wide going out of that corner, and now doing everything they can to keep in the draft of K-Mirrors, and that has been helping them massively as they head down the main straight into the S's.
Absolutely. Oily Rags trying his best to find a way around K-Mirrors here. Oh, looks like he's got a better exit. He could get this move done into the hairpin. Side to side as they go into the corner, late on the brakes. Oily Rags side to side. Can he get the move done? He still doesn't have it quite yet, because K-Mirrors has the inside line. But can Oily wrap around the outside? Not quite. K-Mirrors is still second, but there's a touch. K-Mirrors was slow coming up the mid corner, and that's gonna compromise Oily Rags a lot. That's definitely going to pay in the hands of Sauce Dragon as well, because they both got slowed down in that little kerfuffle.
Yeah, it definitely didn't help them very much that they got a little bit of love tap going out of the last corner, and man, that was close. I think had they been able to, Sosh didn't bump into not Sosh, I'm sorry. If K-Mirrors didn't do so well defending, that almost would have been it, because they definitely tried to go for a move. Speaking of moves, here we go.
Around the outside, but that's the better exit of K-Mirrors. Can he get the inside line?
Yep, here we go, heading into Coppice. Is going to be Oily Rags. Yes, it is. Amazing launch coming out of Coppice, and they were able to get the move done.
Absolutely. In the AM Champ, we have a blue EP2. Can we see a blue EP2 once again for this Silver Champ race?
Yes, but unfortunately this fight has given us another bit of a predicament. Look who's caught up. That's Blade Wolf, Parcho, and Palikwi. And they're going to try to make a move on K-Mirrors, but there's not going to be a movement there. It's a little bit too deep, but unfortunately it also affected Blade Wolf going into the corner. Now Parcho's right on their gearbox.
Absolutely. These close battles. Everywhere you look, but Parcho looking close on the rear end of that Aston Martin, almost having a love tap, but Parcho trying his best to get past the Aston Martin. It looks like Palikwi's pulled off. I wonder what happened.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there. Were we able to see what happened? Were they spun? I don't know what happened there. Absolutely. Here we go, heading down in the final corner. They weren't in a bit of an issue. Did they just... Oh no!
Probably hardware failure.
Yeah, it looks like it's a hardware failure. Heading out into the last corner. I don't know what happened there, but that's super unfortunate for Palikwi.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate case for Palikwi. He was looking promising by the looks of it, but that's one buoy car down and another one left on his own. And now Parcho doesn't have that pressure on his back. He can now focus on putting the pressure on Blade Wolf now and try and make as much moves as he can.
Definitely going to try to push hard as he heads into the Melbourne hairpin, but they definitely are trying to go deep, which is probably the smart thing. They're now going to try to maybe make the move at Goddard's. Is that going to be the case? Oh, they are thinking about it. They're going deep, and there's contact.
Yeah,
definitely contact, and that is definitely not going to help Parcho's case at all. But they gave the position back, and then they also gave Ven a little bit of a helping hand. Ven taking full advantages, getting ahead of Parcho.
Absolutely. I think Parcho was a bit too optimistic looking into that corner and just had that incident with Blade. Blade coming up more scotch-free and less compromised than Parcho was, who lost the position. As we look into the replay of Parcho, what has happened here? It looks like
we can see Parcho had a really good exit going out of Melbourne. As they head into the final corner, they thought about it, and then they went deep, but they went too deep, and they hit the grass a little bit, causing them to lock up and make contact with Blade.
Absolutely too late on the brakes and too touching the grass. That is not the best way to overtake, that's for sure. But Parcho looking on the outside of Ven is going to be brave as he gets cut off. That was very close for Parcho, but that's going to give a better exit. No.
Yeah, Parcho had a bit of a better exit, but they are still now going to have to get by Ven. They thought, I don't know why they were thinking about doing it in the essence. That's not the place to do it. Contact.
Parcho's
that is definitely heavy contact and taking an advantage. That's super unfortunate as Parcho continues on, but that was definite contact and causing Ven to get very loose. That could end up becoming a penalty if it's reported, as it's now unfortunately put Ven right into the grass of Swingley, heading into turn one, as the three of them now getting closer and closer together. Oh, that's super unfortunate for Ven. They were doing an amazing job holding off Parcho.
Absolutely, and Parcho might have to visit the steward's office by the end of this race, but Swingley's really close, and is he looking at a sniff on the BMW of Ven? Not quite.
Ven, that's not the place to do it, and that's not the way to do it. That was very deep. You can see the car bouncing around as they head into Coppice, and that might not do it either. Oh, that's super loose going out of Coppice, and the car almost got into the back of Weiss. Good job on Weiss for not rear-ending Swingley as they now head into the S's. I see a little bit of dust kicking up. I don't know what happened.
That is what happened. Who's that?
That's Ven going super. Yeah, that is Ven. They went super wide going out of the S's, and now they're going wide into Melbourne hairpin, and Swingley's going to take full advantage and go, thank you very much, I will be taking that. But Ven, with the move on the inside, they thought about it, then opted against it. Pretty of a smart move there, as we see the BMW is very loose going out of these slow corners. I don't know what happened. Maybe they have a bit more damage than we think.
Absolutely. That BMW sustaining rear end damage from that little tap with Parcho. So it's going to affect their downforce a lot when it comes to the rear grip of that BMW. And speaking of, anyways, Ven is still in chase on Swingley, but Swingley peeling away by the looks of it. And now the closest driver to Ven, it's still quite close between those three. Yeah, it's still close between those three, but Swingley taking a very wide line there. That's gonna give Ven a sniff. Can Ven get it on the inside? They think better of it and try and get a better corner exit down on Swingley, but that just invites Weiss. Weiss is trying to look at the outside. Can they do it down the chicane? It is very close. They touch a bit, but Weiss is through.
Weiss was through. Was super unfortunate that they went through Coppice. The thing about Coppice is that it's uneven going into that corner.
Oh, but Ven is fighting back. But Weiss with the over-under.
Ven isn't just fighting back. Ven is fighting back. He tried to make a very deep dive going into the Melbourne hairpin. It did not work, as we have a new fastest lap. Bluey Oily Rags, 1:27.4. That's an insane time as he tries to make up the time that he lost fighting K-Mears and try to catch up the Sauce Dragon.
Absolutely. Oily Rags pushing like crazy right now. Pushing getting that Ferrari near its limits as as he goes a bit wide on the old hairpin, but I think that affected a bit of their lap time as they lose a bit to Sauce Dragon, but still a long way to go. Oily can still cover up some ground.
Yeah, Oily can definitely make up ground. And remember, we have 4 minutes till pit lane opens. This is going to be the time as we get back on the fight with Ven and Weiss. Weiss is doing everything he can to keep that BMW behind him as they head toward Coppice. This is where they got loose the last time. Is it going to happen again? They both go very deep into Coppice. And we can see the BMW once again getting a bit of snap oversteer going out of Coppice. And again, I want to point out that corner is, like, it's very deceptively uneven. The corner actually tapers off to the left, and if you hit it just wrong, it will cause your car to get very unsettled. I had that happen to me a few times today, and it's not a fun feeling, and you lose so much time from that.
Absolutely, it's really hard to get the grip down on that corner, and looks like Weiss is pulling away from Ven by the looks of. Now approaching Swingley in that blender Porsche, the Aston Martin, the second Aston Martin of this grid, trying to put down the power going into turn 1. Can he do it? Not quite, as they come into turn 1 and exit it. Oh, they both go wide, and that
all three of them go wide.
But that invites Ven into a sniff.
Yeah, going down into the crater curves. This is not really a place you want to try to make a move.
They touch twice. Oh my god, that is so close. And they both go wide.
That was super close. That could have, and it's so much worse. You could see that Ven had a little bit of a run going down the crater curves, but unfortunately the momentum caused them to tap Weiss going into the corner, and that is super unfortunate. And that is going to unfortunately split up the field a little bit as we follow now along with the closest battle, which is Blade, who is now catching up to Kamers.
Absolutely, Blade trying to reclaim that podium position. They got it stolen by Oily Rags. Now he wants to steal it off Kamers here in the KM as Mercedes.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to try to regain as much time as they can, and they're doing a very good job at keeping. And what this is also doing is this is keeping Kamers humble, because it makes them think, if I make one little mistake, Blade is going to be all over me, because they're not even within, I want to say, a second of each other, which means Blade is going to be very close to getting in within drafting range, and that's not going to help. Going into turn 1 and going very, very wide, and now Blade is surprisingly, well, they did gain a little, half a second, but not enough to really take full advantage of it as they head out of the old hairpin. And Blade is once again going to try to maybe make a push.
Absolutely, Blade biding his time, trying to find the right opportunity for Kamers to snap under pressure and just to pounce on that opportunity. Blade Wolf is on a hunt right now, putting that Aston Martin power down. It's not quite. The Mercedes has more grunt down this corner, but the chicane, Blade Wolf will see if Kamers slips up a bit. Doesn't look like there's much mistakes, so Blade Wolf having to fight another day.
Yeah, and now they're regaining the time that they lost from the mistake that they had in T1, and that is very unfortunate. And as I'm looking at the times, it looks like really hasn't, things have now finally started to separate out, but what a perfect time for things to separate out. It's going to be this lap when pit window is going to be open. So now the strategies come into play. Who's going to pit early? Who's going to pit late? And what that advantage will have is, I think that was Parcho who went very wide going out of turn 1 as we follow along with Sauce Dragon still holding the lead as they head up the hill past the old bridge and into McLean's. And man, it's, if I were Sauce, I'm probably happy that I'm sitting pretty in P1, but not so much the fact that I have a very blue Ferrari gaining ever so slightly with each passing lap. And I don't know, this is gonna make things very interesting and come to the point of who's going to go for the undercut.
Absolutely. Oh, now Sauce Dragon, who long before had that decent lead, it's now down to 1 second because Oily Rags is closing in ever so slightly, inch by inch. That Ferrari just pushing and trying to find a way around. It is now pit window time, so let's see who jumps first. Who shoots their gun first?
Yeah, who pulls the trigger first?
Yep.
The one thing I do want to point out, the Mustang definitely will not have the tire advantage on this. The Ferrari is much better on their tires as far as depending on how they drive. And I think with the way Oily has been driving, they've been keeping it consistent, but they've also been keeping their tires a lot more preserved, probably for this moment, to really start pushing on Sauce Dragon. And it's going to make things very interesting coming down toward the end.
Absolutely. Oily Rags still keeping that gap to Sauce Dragon, but speaking of gaps, here is Blade Wolf, who is still keeping a gap behind Camir. So P1 and P3 are both under threat as of the moment here. Camir's looking a bit deep on the inside as he goes down the corner. And at the moment, Camir's trying to keep that gap healthy, tries to run away from Blade Wolf, but Blade Wolf is on a dash right now.
Blade Wolf is giving it everything they have. They had a much better run going out of Coppice, heading toward the S's. Blade's breaking a little bit deep to see if maybe they can gain a little bit of time, and to no avail. But Blade definitely has a draft heading down toward the Melbourne hairpin. This could be an opportunity to gain so much time as they head into the Melbourne hairpin. And we can see the Mercedes getting very squirrely going out of the hairpin. That's going to give a huge advantage to Blade.
Absolutely. Blade Wolf rushing in right now and getting close to Camir's by the looks of things. Camir's under a lot of pressure. He might want to he might consider undercutting from all this pressure of a big blue Aston Martin just hogging their mirrors.
Yeah, they've been right on the gearbox for the past few laps, and at this point, I wonder, will Camers maybe try to pull the trigger first and force a move on Blade, or force Blade to maybe make an early pit stop? And we'll see what comes up as we see a bit of time being gained. It's been sitting around half a second and 6/10 between Camers and Blade Wolf. So we'll see where that what happens later on.
Absolutely, business as usual. The position still not changing as of the moment, but they could shuffle up once we come into pit windows. And who's going to pit first, who's going to pit last? And speaking of gaps, there is Oily Rags closing up on Sauce Dragon. Almost touched down the hairpin, but Oily Rags right now putting all that pressure. Will Sauce Dragon pit at this point? It doesn't look like. Both are staying out. Oily looking a bit wide, but Sauce Dragon keeping this field relatively in check. But Oily trying every trick of the book to get past Sauce Dragon.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think that maybe this is where the tire advantage begins to come into play, because they are gaining so much time on Sauce Dragon in a lot of the corner exits, it looks like, as we follow along with Oily Rags. He's right on the bumper of Sauce Dragon, heading into McLean's, as Oily just trying to, really at this point, just trying to force a mistake, or maybe trying to make a move. That's not a move on.
Fast.
Yeah, that was a bit of a brave move as we follow along as we follow this little pass here. Very nice going out past the old bridge, and I wonder what happened there, because the gap, though big, it wasn't big enough for them to make a move unless they maybe went wide into the old hairpin. Maybe later on.
That is pretty much what I think happened to Camers. They went a bit too wide on the old hairpin and just had their straight line speed compromised. That Aston Martin able to outdrag the Mercedes once the opportunity came. And speaking of, here's a battle for the lead. Oily Rags looking like a better exit for them, but that Mustang's power just too much for the Ferrari to keep up with. It's going to be very close between these two as they
it's NA versus Turbo here, and unfortunately, when you that corner exit, especially on a straight like this, the NA V8 is just going to do a little bit better just keeping the gap alive, and I think that's just what's been really saving Sauce Dragon at the moment, because because they're gaining on them in the corners, but in the straights it's almost no contest. Sauce is just able to just kind of pull away from Oily Rags.
Absolutely, the Ferrari, a master of the corners, but the Mustang, with all that grunt, with all that power of that V8 motor, just pulling away from Oily Rags in the straight lines.
Speaking of gaining, it appears that Parcho is wanting to get involved in this little scuffle with Blade and K-Mears and is now on a bit of a charge, trying to gain a little bit of time. They're about 1.1 behind K-Mears, and if they keep this pace up, they'll be within a second, which means they will be able to get the draft. So that will definitely help them out.
Speaking of, there isn't any pitters yet, but Sauce Dragon really trying to defend from Oily, because Oily's still behind that Ford Mustang's tail. So Sauce just trying to keep that pressure relieved.
I think at this point, if you're Oily, at this point, you're gaining on them, but at the same time, they're doing a good job at holding you back, and they have advantage of you in the straights. Is it at this point, do you think, maybe I should just try to go for the undercut and maybe pit now, and maybe try to force Sauce to actually follow suit the next lap?
Oh, absolutely. I will undercut right now because it's 32 minutes on the clock. These tires can last well on at least on 30 minutes and a few laps. Like 32 minutes, it's not that much on the tires. So I think the best strategy right now is to undercut as of the moment.
Yeah, it's just going to be a matter of who's going to pull the trigger. Or, if you're going to be really inconvenient, what if you accidentally both pull the trigger? That would be super, that would make things very interesting, because that is just a matter of who could get a better pit stop. As we follow along now with Weiss, who is now slowly but surely gaining in on Swingley as they head into the S's. We're now following along as they heading down toward the Melbourne hairpin, and I think I just saw something. Yes, I did.
Sauce Dragon is coming in.
Yeah, Sauce Dragon came in. I was just looking at my screen, and I just saw that Sauce had switched, and it is now going for the undercut. And it is now it's up to Oily. What are they gonna do now? Because they've got. Not only do they have this, that's the blue BMW of Ven right in front of them. They're gonna be running into lap traffic.
Absolutely, but I think it's down to Oily Rags having to make those laps count, because at the moment they have, besides having Ven, they have clean air. They have all that clean air to make those laps count and to capitalize on the Ferrari strengths to try and get him over when they come into the pits.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a matter now of push, try to make as much time as you can, and then later down, and then box and hope that you did enough to prevent the undercut from happening.
Absolutely. As you can see, those three, Blade Wolf, K-Mears, and Parcho coming down into the hairpin, all looking clean so far, but Parcho looking a bit closer into the rear of K-Mears, but thinks better of it, and stays behind. But Parcho with a better exit by the looks of it. That Ferrari very agile from its mid-engine rotation, but it doesn't look like anything's happening as of the moment. It looks like Oily Rags still staying out, trying to go for the long game, as Blade Wolf comes in and goes for the undercut on these two, try and gain a time in the pit lane.
Yeah, the smart move by Blade. They knew they were going to be right on. They were definitely going to be. It was going to become a three-way fight any minute. It was probably the smart thing to just duck in now and then fight in open air. As we follow along now with this battle, both of these guys are giving it everything they are. They're pushing so hard going out of these corners. Again, out of the old
very
hairpin.
wide. Yeah, Parcher going very wide on the old hairpin. That's going to cost them a lot of time and give Camirs more of a gap. But Camirs very wide in this corner. That just invites Parcho back into the mix. It's very close between these two. It's either gaining and losing time. It's the circuit really showing the strengths and weaknesses of these cars and drivers.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a game of who and it's been more or less just a game of who's going to twitch first, and it's been a bit of a how do I put it best? It's made things very interesting as we see Parcho once again getting a better exit or get a better entrance out of the corner. As I believe, yes, that is our race leader going into box now. So, and look who else is going into box.
Oh my goodness. That was
they thought about it. They thought about staying out. They saw K-Mears go in. They said, screw it, I'm going to try to go into. And that almost ended in disaster.
That was almost a smash into the wall. Thank goodness it didn't happen. But Oily Rags in the pits. This is going to be a nerve-wracking game. Can Oily get ahead of Sauce Dragon in the pits? Because Sauce Dragon in the penultimate hairpin right now, but Oily still in the pits, still waiting for those tires to get on, and they should go on about now. And yep, that's Sauce Dragon in the final hairpin. Oily Rags just came out of the pit lane. This is going to be a drag race on who can go to the first corner first, and it looks like Oily Rags.
It's gonna be anyone's guess.
But Sauce Dragon.
Sauce Dragon got so close, but not close enough, and then they get scrubbed wide going out of the first corner. That was huge. Oily Rags was able to just barely save it, but now he's got a Mustang right on their tail, and that is huge. They were able to cut off the undercut and work out perfectly, as now the game is on, because unfortunately, Sauce now has the advantage. His tires are worn. They're worn in. He's able to gain more. They're able to gain more time. Oily's tires are still cold. So it's just going to be a matter of who's going to, if Oily can hold off Sauce just long enough for their tires to warm up, it could make things very interesting.
Absolutely, that was nerve-wracking as they had that drag race coming into turn one, but Oily Rags barely making it. Oily defending as hard as he can from that Mustang, trying to get the power down, but looks like Oily has it as of the moment, but the Mustang's top speed and power not to be underestimated.
Absolutely, but I did notice a little bit of a wiggle going from Sauce going out of the Melbourne hairpin. That might have helped out Oily a lot. Now it is kind of evened out, but it's coming down to the point of, can Oily hold on? Can they keep Sauce Dragon, who is on an absolute charge, right behind them?
Absolutely, this battle of the lead getting more intense as these two continue on. Sauce Dragon taking better braking lines, but Oily with the better cornering ability of that Ferrari, just sailing away in those mid to high speed corners. But the grunt of Sauce Dragon's Mustang just keeping them close behind the Ferrari.
Yeah, it's just a matter of as long as Oily is able to keep those corners going, they're able to do fine. But the thing about it is, Sauce Dragon has a draft. Sauce Dragon is in a straight. It's just a matter of if Oily can just keep Sauce Dragon behind them the rest of the race, then it's game, set, match.
Absolutely, Oily trying his best to shake the Mustang out of his rearview mirrors, but Sauce Dragon really putting the power down on that Mustang, looking a bit wiggly coming off that hairpin. It looks like Oily Rags doing every trick in the book to try and defend from Sauce Dragon.
They're doing an amazing job. They've been taking full advantage of the Ferrari's ability to kind of exit the corners a little bit better than the Mustang. and it has been working to perfection. But Sash is not giving up that easily. They're still right on the tail, heading down the crater curves. It's still only about half a second between the two of them, heading down to the old hairpin. Nice and easy. A little bit deep going in by Sauce Dragon, but not too much. In fact, it may have helped them. It gained them 2/10 to right on the bumper of Oily Rags.
It's a Sosh looking into the inside, side to side, but Oily trying to get the grip down. They're so close, and Sosh is through, but not quite. Can Oily get the better exit down the next corner? Getting that Ferrari power, trying its best to keep up with that Mustang. It's going to be very close as they come into the chicane. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Sauce Dragon? Is it going to be Oily Rags? Sauce Dragon with a more compromised entry that may pay into the hands of Oily Rags, but not quite. The Mustang of Sauce Dragon getting past.
Definitely, that was definitely an amazing move going in the McLean's, but unfortunately, that may not be the issue because remember, Sauce Dragon has been very wiggly going out of the Melbourne hairpin, and it almost cost them dearly. As Sauce again got very wiggly going into the hairpin, and it allowed Oily to get right on the bumper of Sauce Dragon, and now he's going to chase. Now Oily Rags is got to chase down Sauce, but I think this might be big for Oily Rags because they're just keeping the pressure on as we see K-Mears coming in the box.
Oh. Looks like they kind of oversped it. Have they got away with it? I am not so sure. But to put a point in the battle between Oily and Sauce, that is very much needed by Sauce because the Mustang can just run away. But don't forget, Oily Rags has tires that are a few laps younger, so he still has the tire advantage.
Yes, not only the tire advantage, but I also want to point out again, Sauce was really pushing, trying to get ahead of that Ferrari. You could see it going out of the hairpin. They were wiggling, and that is not very good, especially for those rear tires. It means that they might have actually kind of cooked the rear tires a little bit going out of that hairpin.
Absolutely, and if Oily could keep up, and if Sauce keeps making those wiggles, and look at that!
Speaking of wiggles,
that's Oily inside to side into the hairpin, but Sauce has the inside line, so I don't think this is going to phase him much. Is it going to? Oh, Oily going for the long way round, trying to get the better exit here, and Oily on the outside once more, but it's still Sauce ahead.
Yeah, a bit of a cheeky squeeze from Sauce. They actually kind of squeezed them going into the corner, and it allowed them to kind of hold on to the position going out of the corner, and that probably saved them a little bit because they definitely had the better run going into the corner, and that almost would have been another Oily Rags take in the lead.
Absolutely. I am loving this close battle for the lead right now. It is still uncertain on whoever will win. Will it be the RRP confuzzled Mustang of Sauce Dragon, or will it be the shortcut Blue E Ferrari of Oily Rags as Oily comes close to this corner, but it's not quite. The Mustang power pulling away as they head into the chicane, so Oily Rags has to look another day for a pass.
Yeah, pulling away a little bit, but not by much. Oily Rags took full advantage of the draft and sat right behind Sauce Dragon to kind of keep themselves in contention. And look at this, Sauce Dragon again trying to play very defensively. It forced Oily Rags to go wide, and that may have been, but unfortunately, that also opened the door for Oily. They tried to go on the inside, but now they're going on the outside. Maybe to try to go for an over-under going into the corner. Is it going to work?
It is very close. Oily Rags almost getting to the rear end of that Mustang right there. Trying every single line, every single trick of the book, even writing a few pages there. But Oily Rags still trying his best to get past the big Mustang of Sauce Dragon.
Yeah, Sauce doing everything right so far as they head down the crater curves. Nice and simple, but it's becoming advantage Ferrari going into Sector 2, but in Sector 3 it's all Mustang just because of that straight line speed is able to really help Sauce going out of the corners. And not only that, they've been doing a very good job at keeping Oily behind them, being very defensive and keeping things going. And I just noticed something. Sauce Dragon tapped their brakes a little bit going into Compass. That might have lost them a little bit of speed, and I think Oily's going to take full advantage of it. They're slowly but surely starting to gain a little bit of time as they head into the S's. Right on the bumper is Oily Rags. Let's see which move they're going to try. Is it going to be another move on the outside by Oily?
It is around the outside, but they are very close. They're almost touching. They actually touch a bit, but it's just a love tap, and they're both still pointed the right way. They're in the same position. Nothing changed at all. So it's getting really spicy, getting really close between these two as Oily Rags hangs around the outside, tries to make it stick, but not quite. Sauce Dragon making that Mustang as wide as it can, and still remaining in the lead.
Yeah, that was very close. You saw Sauce actually get a little bit of a wiggle from that love tap, but they were able to save it. And I think Sauce backed off a little bit because they knew if they tried to take advantage of it, it could end badly for them in the steward's room. So they let off, gave Sauce a little bit of breathing room so that way they could even out and then try to make another go going into the last corner. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to be, but now it is getting super intense. I may need another soda for this.
Absolutely. Oh, the App Champ was a great appetizer, but the main course here, the Silver Champ, never disappointing. This is such a feast for the eyes as Sauce Dragon and Oily Rags take the spotlight and try to duke it out for the lead.
Yeah, it's super close. It has been, I think the biggest this gap has gotten is about 4/10. And I think it might actually get a little bit deeper because I think Oily went a little bit deep going into the S's, but I don't think it compromises them too much as they head down into the hairpin, gaining a little bit of time. The advantage of that Ferrari going into the corner is just, he's trying so hard, but the problem is the Mustang is just doing an amazing job at keeping keeping Oily Rags behind them.
Absolutely. It doesn't help that Donington Park is a track where it's very tricky to overtake. Well, Sauce made that overtake, but still, there are only oh so few overtaking opportunities in this circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Excuse me. It is so difficult. You really just kind of have to hope that maybe the guy in front of you either makes a mistake or maybe goes a little bit wide and you're able to get a better exit. And that is really all it's been for this race. It has been Stosh really doing their best to kind of keep Oily Rags at bay and making Oily be not only aggressive, but try to force them to maybe even make a mistake and try to go wide. It's gotten close, as we saw going in out of McLean's. They actually went a little bit wide, but it hasn't affected them too much.
Absolutely. Oily Rags still behind the Mustang of Sauce Dragon, trying his best to pry his way through, but it doesn't look like much as of the moment. The hairpin, that is where the Ferrari really has the advantage, but unfortunately the hairpin really tricky to overtake, really tricky to make a pass because there's another one coming your way. But Sauce Dragon looking a bit wide, that might open invitation for Oily Rags to try and look into a move later on Sauce.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been, I'm getting Ford versus Ferrari vibes here, and not in the literal sense, but in the Le Mans sense, because the Mustang has just been doing what its predecessor, the GT40, has been doing, and just taking full advantage of the straights, while at the same time the Ferrari has just been doing super well in the corners, and it has just been a matter of who is going to give, what is going to give, and how is this race going to end as we follow them into McLean's. And Sauce now gaining a little bit of a time. The gap is now increased to about a little over half a second. So this might be a little bit of a breather that Sauce needed to kind of recompose themselves and maybe try and gain a little bit of time.
Absolutely, this battle still going on with 15 minutes on the clock remaining. These two are still going elbows out. They're duking out, trying to find each other's weak points and making advantage of that. But at the moment, Sauce Dragon still leads this race, but goes a bit wide coming off the exit of the hairpin. This gives Oily a bit of a sniff, but the Mustang again pulling away with all that power. It's just unfortunately it looks hopeless, as we can see Parcho has a drive-through penalty for what I assume is track limits.
Yeah, I assume definitely that's going to be track limits. Super unfortunate for Parcho. They've been having a decent race so far, as now they're going to have to serve that drive-through within 3 laps. So hopefully soon, hopefully it won't affect them too much. And I'm looking at the gap though. Unfortunately, I think that's going to put them all the way at the back.
Absolutely, 20 seconds is the time lost during a drive-through penalty. So while not all is lost, Parcho is under danger from Camirs and Ven. These two are within the 20-second window of Parcho, and Camirs here looking on the outside. It's another drag race, but Parcho comes out just in time. So Parcho hasn't bled that much time.
Yeah, and so far, it's now actually gonna make things very interesting in the backfield, because now Camirs, who has now been on a bit of a recovery drive, now has an advantage to maybe even gain a spot, depending on where, if they're able to push hard enough and gain that position back. As we follow along with the lead battle, and again that Ferrari with a much better exit going out of Melbourne, but they aren't able to take advantage of it, as we see Oily go once again very wide, and that was contact going into the rear, going out of the corner, and unfortunately they were able to kind of keep it going, but unfortunately that's time lost.
Absolutely, they are getting more argy-bargy as the race goes on. Oily Rags trying to put that Mustang under a lot of pressure, but the Mustang big enough to contain all the pressure from that Ferrari.
Yeah, they're doing an amazing job keeping that Ferrari behind them, and it is now becoming a point of, what are they going to do now? Because despite having the tire advantage, that tire advantage is probably now effectively gone, and it's just going to be a matter of if I can maybe force a mistake from Sauce Dragon.
Absolutely.
To maybe take advantage of it.
Talking about Sauce Dragon, Oily Rags still in the slipstream, looking closer than ever to the Ferrari as they head into the chicane. Oily ducks in first into the wide line and tries the better exit. Looks like Oily has got it here, but not much of an advantage. There's still 3/10 right behind the Mustang, and there's the hairpin. Oily's only hope, going wide as he can just for that better exit to try and match the Mustang's grunt. And Cat's Camirs going wide, and that's gonna open a snip to Ven. And oh my goodness, what a spin from Ven. Camirs. What happened?
Yeah.
And oh, that was a very scary one. Just touched the outside line, and that is unfortunately gonna go the way of Ven, as Camirs. Yeah. Unfortunate case for him.
And I think
they've retired by the looks of it. Yes.
Oh no, that's super unfortunate. As we follow along with the battle for the lead, and Oily again goes super wide, going out of the old hairpin, now on their way to McLean's. It has been so close. It has been super close, and again Oily with another corner advantage, but just not able to take advantage of it. As I say that, look at this, they're right on the bumper heading down into the straight on their way to the S's. Not even half a tenth. Again, Oily trying to maybe psych out Sosh, and it's not been working. Sosh taking the super defensive line.
Look at this, Oily with the power down. Can he get that move into the hairpin? Not quite. Oily thinks of another day, but oh, Sosh has gone wide! Sosh is wide, and they're side to side once again, but the grunt of the Mustang pulls Sosh away and pushes Sosh into salvation, and still on that lead. That is very close between the two.
Going into the hairpin. That power has been Sosh's saving grace. Every time Oily has gotten an absolutely monumental run going into the hairpin, they are just not able to capitalize it, because not only of just Sosh's very defensive driving and just trying to keep Oily Rags behind them, but just the power going out of the corner is just able to give Sosh that little bit of an edge to keep Oily behind them.
Absolutely, but oh, here comes Oily looking like a better exit for the number 83 Ferrari. Can he get a move down into the inside? Not quite. Sauce Dragon defends that valiantly, but Oily Rags all over him, trying to find a move, and Sauce Dragon once again covering the inside. Oily Rags sees this, tries to go for the outside. Oh, but the Oily was a bit slippery there. That compromises their power coming into the S's, but once again, 9 minutes ago, and they're still this close to for the lead battle, and Oily still trying to capitalize off corner exit, but it's just not happening at the moment. Oily Rags trying to go outside Sauce Dragon, trying to find the gap, but Sauce Dragon hasn't left any. That's an unfortunate for Oily, who was looking to capitalize off that so-called weak spot of the Mustang.
Yeah, it's been corner entry and mid corner that has been all Ferrari, but the corner exit has just been saving Sauce Dragon so much. Less than 9 minutes to go. Only about, I'd say about 8 or 9 laps left in this race. Oily's gonna have to think of something to really kind of push Sauce over the edge or get really, really aggressive. And I don't know. It's going to make things very interesting as he goes deep into the old hairpin, but then also Oily goes really wide in the old hairpin.
Absolutely. This is such an amazing race between these two. It's still not over yet. 8 minutes to go, and it looks like it's going down to the final laps between these two with the way they're fighting.
8 minutes to go. Only 8 minutes to go to get this job done if they can. Oily trying so hard, so valiantly to try to get around Sauce Dragon. No matter what happens, you've got to give points to Oily. They did an amazing job keeping Sauce on their toes and making it an incredible run to keep Sauce, well, really just super defensive. And unfortunately, despite all of this fighting, no one has been able to take advantage of it. They've been basically able to fight mano-a-mano this whole time.
Absolutely, the nearest guy at the moment, Blade Wolf, is only 10 seconds away from these two. But these two are still pushing the limits. These two are still making the distance. They're still driving away from this small group. And at the moment, they're the closest battle anyone's had in this race.
Yeah. On board now with Sauce Dragon. You can see in that massive rear view camera the bluey Ferrari as they head up toward McLean's. Sauce again a little bit further behind than earlier, but it's just taking full advantage of the mid to high speed corners.
Absolutely,
to really start pushing.
Sauce looking a bit slow down these sections that almost gave that Ferrari a sniff. You can see the shark teeth on the mirror as they head into the chicane. Who will it be? Will it be Oily capitalizing on a corner exit? It looks like Oily closing in much, but gets a bit squirrely on the S's. So that's going to be Sauce Dragon's race at this section. But Oily Rags getting closer than ever to that Mustang, almost touching the rear end of that Mustang. Oh my goodness. These two are just not going to calm down.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to let off anytime soon. Unfortunately, what? Oh, never mind. We had a bit of a glitch there. Oily is still on the field. I almost thought they disconnected there for a second. I had a bit of a heart attack as we keep following along with this. Very briefly, Oily Rags doing everything they can. Unfortunately, I think they lost a little bit of time going into turn 1, and now it's opened the door a little bit for Sauce, as now they're trying to regain the position. Oh, my heart. I don't like this.
It looks like they're calming down at the moment, but that might be Oily just getting a bit of clean air just to try and get some downforce in. But at the moment, Sauce slowly running away with it. That gap is now close to a second. and as Oily Rags is trailing far behind on Sauce Dragon.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to kind of regain that time lost. 5 minutes to go. Only 5 minutes for Oily Rags to make that move and try to make it and try to get this race win, as Sauce doing everything they can to keep that Ferrari right behind them.
Absolutely, Sauce Dragon just using that Mustang's power to just pull away from the Ferrari, but that Ferrari's cornering ability, just keeping it close to the Mustang, it's going to be very mixed as they both go into the sector 1. It's still going to be very close. We don't know who's gonna win yet. This is very great. As you can see, Oily Rags slowly but surely closing in.
Every time they've gotten close in this sector, it has been so close, but they've just not been able to get that one little window that they've needed to get around Sauce Dragon, and it has been super hard. But I think they may have gotten it now. I just noticed a little bit of a wiggle going out of Coppice, and that might be a bit of an advantage for Oily Rags, but unfortunately not enough. The Mustang was able to kind of pull away from them heading into the next corner.
Absolutely, but for how long can the Mustang use all that power coming off the exit? Because the more Sauce Dragon spins those tires, the more tire wear he puts onto the rears, and eventually he'll lose all that grunt as Oily Rags continues to close in on the final hairpin with, I believe, this at least 2 to 3 laps. Yeah, this is 3 laps to go for these two.
3 laps left. It is Ford versus Ferrari. Ridge Racer Project versus Blue E. Nobody knows who's going to come out on top. It's just going to take one moment for this thing to be turned on its head. Everyone is on their feet. My heart rate has not dropped since the start of this fight. It has gotten very close, and it could be anyone's race.
Yep, you're right there, Wolfin. It is still not yet decided. Sauce Dragon's Valiant defending still holds its ground, but for how long? Because Oily Rags still trying to find a way around that Mustang and trying to make Sauce Dragon crack under pressure, but it doesn't look quite yet as they approach the penultimate lap as soon as they get finished with this sector.
Yeah, this will be 2 laps to go. It means it is now or never. You have to really, really push to figure out, to really decide who's it gonna be. And again, Sauce Dragon having a little bit of traction issues going out of that corner, but it's just been the power of that Mustang has allowed them to kind of keep it going, as we see Oily go very wide going out of the last corner. It could be anyone's game.
Oh, it doesn't. I think they crossed the line before the fastest lap, so it's still, I believe there's still 2 laps to go. They barely made it count. It's going to be really close whether that checkered flag comes up, and that pays a different question. Who has saved enough fuel to go to the end just in case the laps get longer? Because
yeah, if this turns into the last lap, then it will be Sauce Dragon. As we head through Coppice, down the straight, 45 seconds on the clock. It is now or never. I think this is going to be it. As we head into the S's, Oily Rags giving it everything they go, going super deep into the corner, trying to find that one little movement. Who is it going to be?
Oh, Sauce Dragon's not very wide! That gives Oily Rags
It's very wide!
They're head to head! It's going to be close! Who will it be but an hairpin? But it's Sauce Dragon with the power! It's going to be very close as they head into the main straight! I think it's going to be the final lap, and it is going to be in the final lap as they both reach the start-finish straight. But I think Sosh got a bit pushed there, and it's going to be...
Sosh didn't get pushed. Sosh pushed
Oily get pushed,
Oily,
yeah.
it looks like.
It was a bit close, it was a bit argy-bargy, but Oily Rags has one more lap to make this count. Will it be the Blue E Ferrari?
One lap to go. It is now or never, and that's not going to help them at all. That's wide. That's super wide.
That is Oily Rags to the lead of the race in the final lap. Oh my days! What a phenomenal race we're having right now.
One mistake. I told you, one mistake is it's going to be. I cannot believe it. On the last lap, the old hairpin has struck once again, and now Oily has to do one thing and one thing only: keep Sosh behind them. They have been giving it everything they've got. They've tried and they've tried. 2 corners to go. Here we go. 1 corner to go after the Melbourne hairpin. Here we go.
Absolutely.
It looks like like it'll be it. He's got one opportunity, and I don't think they're gonna do it. Here we go.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
It is going to be Oily Rags for the win here in Donington Park. And it's going to be Sosh Dragon right behind. Oh my goodness. Just one move.
I thought I was sweating after my race. I am a freaking puddle right now.
Oh my goodness.
As we see Blade coming in for P3. Oh my god, what a race. Here we go. Swingley is now coming down to the final quarter. He will take P4 as I know. Oh my god. That was absolutely insane. I don't think anything can top that.
Absolutely.
I thought your battle with Denak was close. No. This, I think, took the cake. It took one little mistake, going wide in the old hairpin, for Oily to take full advantage. Absolutely earned.
That is an absolutely cinematic race. A cinematic battle for the lead. I can't believe what we've just witnessed here. Oily Rags.
Suzuka, I am shaking. I'm literally
so
shaking
am I.
from this race.
My goodness, what a cinematic race they have delivered for us. And as you can see, there is Ven off to finish the race, and I think Oily Rags and Sosh Dragon are taking it carefully because they haven't completed. Oh, I think they ran out of fuel. That's the thing. They're going slow. They probably didn't calculate how far this race would go. But thankfully,
maybe.
Yeah, thankfully, Ven still manages to coast down the start-finish line and complete this grid. Oh my goodness, what a race we had tonight.
Oh man, this is what it's gonna be like for the rest of the series. Oh man, I'm excited. I am actually a little bit bummed this is gonna be a 4-race series and not a 6, because my god, it would have made things so much more interesting as we see Ven slowly but surely kind of coasting, I believe, to a stop, because that'll be that. Yeah, I think they completely ran out of gas. That lucked out for them, I guess.
Oh my goodness, I still can't believe what I've just witnessed. Oily Rags winning it by a mistake. All he needed was for Sosh to crack under pressure, and he got that in the old hairpin. Sosh going a bit too wide for his liking, and that just gifted Oily Rags the win. These two are absolutely great drivers for their efforts tonight, giving us this entertainment.
Oh my god, that was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. I'm gonna need a new shirt, and I'm probably gonna need a shower. I'm sweating so much.
Oh my goodness,
I cannot believe it. That was such an incredible race. It could have been anyone's game. All it took was one little mistake in a corner that has screwed over so many people both series. I was just noticing the old hairpin has just, it's one of those most deceitful corners because you think you've got it, but then you go so wide, and that is exactly what happened to Sauce Dragon. They had done so well keeping Oily Rags behind them, but they just were not able to get the job done. They got very close, but it took one extra lap. I think the clock had ended right there, they had 10 seconds. I was looking at the clock. 10 seconds to go before that lap, before it went white. So it almost could have ended there.
Absolutely, those are the margins that come with racing. That was very close to that was very close. That it could have been. It could have been such as if they slowed down each other, but no, they absolutely pushed the limits of their cars and got that extra lap. And boy, what a finish we have today.
Yeah, that was just, I physically cannot believe how close that was. That could have been anyone's race, and it all came down to one little thing. As we go over the current point standings, it is going to be Oily Rags with the first win of this season, followed by Sauce Dragon. In third, it will be Blade Wolf. Fourth, Swingley. Fifth will be Weiss. Sixth, seventh, eighth are going to be Leparcho, Ven, and K-Mears respectively, followed by two racers that were not able to make it. There are four racers that were not able to make it. Were complete. It will be Paliqui, Timo, Czar, and I believe there was one more.
That was Jack Mays, yep.
It was Jack Mays, okay. Yeah, as we head into one race down, 3 to go.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
Yes, so am I.
I am so excited.
If this is what the silver champ if this is what the silver champ's worth, I am staying in this commentary box. We are and yeah, speaking of, next 2 weeks we will have the AM and silver champ races in Misano, but we also have a few races that are not yet broadcasted as of the moment, such as the GT2 series or the Porsche Cup series. So if you want to join this action here, if you want to be part of the grid here, you can go into our Discord at discord.gg/Simufur. We are a welcoming community for any sim racers, for any furries, for anyone in the sim racing furry spectrum. Come on in. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, absolutely excited. And cannot wait for 2 weeks when we get ready to go to Misano. It is going to be an absolutely amazing experience, and I cannot wait.
So can't I. I am looking forward to Misano, actually.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, my goodness. Anyways, to close up the stream, once again, I am Suzuka. Alongside me is Foxdale, and behind the scenes with the camera work is Denak, and we would like to thank you very much for watching this race. See you guys.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.